several shootings and a stabbing at the Caribbean Day Parade. And we're going to get a little bit more into Robin Westman.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast, and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts, and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring, and George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil, chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk and doubt it, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
Welcome to the MC Too Tall Show. I am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, MC Too Tall. So, reports have come out that there have been multiple shootings and a stabbing at the Caribbean Day Parade. And, of course, the comments are going to flood. I'm not surprised, I'm not surprised, I'm not surprised, and this and that and blah, blah, blah. It's part of a bigger picture, I believe. It's part of a bigger picture. And I think it's the way society as a whole crumbles. And I could get into a plethora of theories. But to name one, I believe, this is my personal theory, and Immortal Technique, the rapper, has a similar theory to this, that the impoverished communities or the inner city communities are the testing ground for what they want to do to the rest of the world. Now, people have spoken about MK Ultra several times. And why isn't that looked more into? People know it exists now. It's not a secret anymore. A lot of people believe it is. They think it's some kind of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but there's documents that show that this happened. Here's Blair White.
I'm sure it's nothing that the sigil on one of the shooter's magazines was also used by the Highland Park mass shooter. Why would that be? And why is it that we would skip over that? Right? I'll put it on the screen. So the Highland Park shooter openly said he was a product of MK Ultra. Openly did social media posts about this, and apparently was also a artist or a rapper and wrote songs about it. And you can disregard that, but like, why?
Okay. So, why are we ruling out MK Ultra? Blair also went on to point out that Westman's father was a CIA agent for nearly 30 years. So that's 3 decades in the CIA. And there's some cold-blooded people. Remember I said somebody like John Bolton would put a pillow over his own mother's face if it meant he would get a weapons contract? CIA would do worse. The CIA would do worse. And it's not even to line their pockets with money. It's to fulfill their job and get promotions and get that pin or some kind of accolade of some kind. And what are they doing for it? They would drop their own parents in meat grinders. CIA people are very desensitized and cold-blooded creatures. You know, talk about an agency from which there are people not to trust. It's the CIA, even more so than the FBI. I mean, because people from the FBI, they want a grandstand. From the CIA, they want to do things sneaky. So the FBI people have this, at least they have this care about their own reputation, and they want to look like these big-time heroes, that there's certain lines they would not cross at the risk of getting caught. If there's a risk of them then getting caught, they won't cross the line. If there isn't, of course, they will, which makes them sons of bitches too, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. So why, oh why, is MK Ultra being ruled out? Like, they didn't, like, there's not enough evidence or enough patterns to see in other people. Like this shooter here. Like probably every mass shooter. I refer to them as the Manchurian candidates that get sent in by the Illuminati to do diabolical deeds so they could put a ban on what they used to commit these diabolical deeds, which are guns. And if they ban this type of gun, they're gonna ban the next type of gun, the next type of gun, and before you know it, your little 22 pistol is outlawed. Before you know it, it's like England, where a 14-year-old girl has to sneak a freaking kitchen knife and a hatchet out of the house in order to protect herself and her sister. Don't buy into only these kind of guns. Let's give up only these kinds of guns, because it will lead to giving up all kinds of guns. But anyway, getting back to this MK Ultra business. I'm not just all these shooters, but the Manson family, Lee Harvey Oswald, serial killers like David Berkowitz, and a band of soldiers back in the early 70s led by Colonel Michael Aquino. Now there goes an interesting character, Michael Aquino. He was Michael Aquino is a retired colonel from the U.S. Army. And while he was in the U.S. Army, he was a student of Anton LaVey at the Satanic Church. And entering the Satanic Church, he didn't realize that it was more like a mockery of religion rather than full-on demonic stuff. So it was like demonic light. It was nothing like the straight-up evil and bizarro stuff that Aleister Crowley used to do. Now, Aleister Crowley made his wife submit to sexual intercourse with a male goat, and then as the male goat was ejaculating inside of her, he slits the goat's throat. Yeah, it was nothing like that. In fact, they were very big on animal rights advocacy, the LaVey family. And so what happened was when Michael Aquino joined, he looked around, he's like, what the hell, where's the animal sacrifices? Where's the human sacrifices? Oh, this shit is whack, I'm leaving. And he formed his own branch of evil called the Temple of Set. Now the Temple of Set is even worse than the Satanic Church. Temple of Set deals with these secret government operations, these MK Ultra operations. And he put together a band of soldiers along the West Coast that abducted adolescent boys, put them under all kinds of hypno and drugs and sexual assault, violent sexual assault. Almost all of them came out, among the ones that came out of it alive, that is, came out of it with multiple personalities, which means at any time, these victims could become killers themselves. Even right now, as we speak, these people are in there. These kids are like late 50s, pushing 60 now. And at any point, these middle-aged men pushing senior citizen status could become hardcore, vicious killers. And that's something to think about. Certain things are weaved through culture and customs. And it's not organic. I don't believe it to be anyway. What creates a situation where a gathering that's supposed to be a celebratory gathering leads to shootings and a stabbing? And you can say, oh, it's the black people, but maybe that's only part of the story. Maybe it's the black people because they chose to experiment on the black people. Why in these inner city communities are there so many liquor stores and bodegas that have the rows and rows of scratch-off tickets, cheap beer, cheap wine? You know, that's basically the distractions. Bread and the circus. And so, it's a testing ground. And another interesting thing, I was watching the No Spin News with Bill O'Reilly, and he said that parents come to him all the time and write to him all the time, and they say that they can't connect with their children because their children don't even watch TV, which is something that earned the name boob tube, now for no apparent reason. There's a reason for that. And they're not even doing that. They're distracted from their parents by devices like this. And so, because kids are distracted from their parents by their cell phones, they're fixed in their screen, watching things all day. You know, between their teachers telling them that their thoughts of being the opposite sex are valid. To them watching this, you're valid, you're valid, you're valid, you're valid. You know, you're trans, you exist, you're trans, you exist. The Republicans are trying to erase you. The Republicans are trying to erase you. Erase them before they erase you. Erase them before they... You see what I'm saying? See where I'm going with this? So, you get this. Psych meds. Your teacher's telling you you're meant to be a girl. And then this thing telling you Republicans are dismissing your notion of being a girl as so silly that you either have to change back or they're going to come with SS troops and kill you, to a drugged up mind with flashing images of Nazi Germany and connecting it with Donald Trump. You know, it's almost like remote MK Ultra. They don't need to lock you in a lab anymore. They don't need to sit you down on a cold steel chair in a poorly lit room and force you to look at flashing images. They got the cool device to allure you to those flashing images. They got the good drugs that your trained medical professionals prescribe to you, and then the bad drugs that society supposedly won't let you have because they don't understand your plight, that you buy off the streets, and it's this laced weed. It's weed laced with fentanyl, crack cocaine laced with fentanyl, booger sugar form of cocaine laced with fentanyl, crystal methamphetamine laced with fentanyl, and other types of drugs. I believe there's all kinds of psych meds in methamphetamine. GHB is made up of chemicals under your kitchen sink. But methamphetamine, it's a whole combination of things. The active ingredient found in Sudafed. I believe a bunch of other types of psych meds and fentanyl. It makes you docile while you're high on it, and then violent as you come off of it. So again, the drugs combined with the flashing images and the negative messaging in the audio with those flashing images. What do you expect? This is something I believe was planned by the Illuminati decades and decades ago. I believe they had this plan put in motion at least as far back as the 70s and possibly as far back as the 40s. This concludes this episode of the MC Too Tall Show. Respect God. Watch out for the Illuminati. Follow and share this beautiful content. Stay strong. Keep kicking that slang.